I do my Asiwaju story, I would like you to tell me your name. Who are you? Your little about your political career.
Okay, my name is Dr. Umar Tanko Yakasai. I've been recently appointed as the new Director General of Tinubu Support Group in December last year, under the leadership of our convener and leader, Honorable James Abiodun Faleke, to steer the leadership of the Tinubu Support Group towards the 2027 general election. And you know, the Tinubu Support Group was the very first support group that was created by Asiwaju himself with the directive and express permission of then Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But we had I read from the archives, and I knew that the Tinubu Support Group, when it started, had other leaders that were like the founding fathers, and many of them were Asiwaju's close political associates across the country. I can mention a few names. Baba BC Akande was one of the leaders. Pius Akinyelure was also one of the leaders. The majority leader now of the Senate, Okpeyemi Bamidele, Senator, Juan Aikin. And then also across the northern Nigeria, we have people like Babachir Lawal then, who was the former SGF but had left now. Kashim Imam, who is Asiwaju's friend but had left now, but he was among the founding fathers. Senator Habu Ibrahim, who was in prison with Baba during the military junta, was also a founding father. Senator Magnus Abe, Grace Bent, Senator, and quite about 20-something of them. And at that time, also Honorable James Abiodun Faleke, who was like the convener and also the founder and the leader. So these were the people that first formed the Tinubu Support Group. And the first DG was, incidentally, he bears Umar, just like me, Architect Umar Ibrahim. And so these were the people that started TSG. And now I am sitting on the legacies of these elders and trying to do what they did, ensured the victory of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2023. And now that responsibility lies squarely on me to lead it, and every other person who is also here with us under the tutelage of Honorable James Abiodun Faleke. So that's something about me, and then about the TSG.
Yeah, what is the full meaning of that TSG?
So TSG is simply Tinubu Support Group. You know, every time you have a president or an aspirant or a candidate who is contesting, his own team will form a support group in championing that aspiration. So Obasanjo didn't have when he started, but in 2022-23, when he was coming for his second term, there was a group like that called Grand Alliance of Nigeria. After that, when Eradua came, there was no time, but Good Luck also had his own support group. That was door-to-door, neighbor-to-neighbor that were campaigning for his second term. And then Buhari too has an organization that was personal to his own personal support group, the Buhari Support Organization. And so, likewise, Tinubu's personal support group is Tinubu Support Group. That's why it bears his name, and solely his name, because it was founded at a time when he was not even an aspirant. The essence of the group was to, first of all, go around Nigeria, ask Nigerians, what do they know about Asiwaju? What do they think about his leadership?
That's exactly what I want to ask you. How will you describe Asiwaju? What do you know about Asiwaju?
Okay, so I think it requires some little bit of context and history to be able to put my understanding and my knowledge of Asiwaju into a correct perspective. Of course, you know the age gap between Asiwaju and myself, so I will be like a grandchild to Asiwaju. So, as a young person, I knew Lagos as early as 1979. My father was the special assistant to President Shehu Shagari at that point in time, who was the president of Nigeria. And so, between 1979 to 1984, 83 rather, during the first tenure of Shagari, my father lived in Lagos as somebody who is SA on legislative matters. So he was going between the president and the National Assembly. So we used to travel to Lagos and stay and then come back to Kano. So we used to go around Lagos. So I knew what Lagos was right from 1979 when I was a young person. And then later on in 1985, I happened to move to Lagos and started my junior secondary school. That was JS2. So I lived in Lagos. I went to St. Timothy College, which was in Iwaya, Sabo. So as students, we used to go all around places. So I know Joeleba at that time. I know Oshodi of that time. I know Maroko Semes of that time. And I know how dangerous Lagos used to be. And then later on, as a university student, I became a leader of the National Association of Nigerian Students, initially as financial secretary, later as Senate president, and then NANS president. So we used to travel to Lagos to join our friends, our comrades in the struggle for the restoration of power to then late Moshood Abiola, who presumably won the 1992-93 election. And the struggle started to restore democracy, and then after his passing, we still continued. So I also used to travel to Lagos. So at that time, whenever we go to Lagos to do protests against the military junta, asking for the return of democracy, I know my friends do tell me about the leader of the champion for the return of democracy, who is Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu.
That's when he was in Nadeko.
That was when he was in Nadeko. So we have a lot of friends in Lagos. The one I can remember is Ayu Dele, when they call him Ayu Lasu.
That's the comrade.
Comrade Ayu. We used to go to Lasu. He was the president then, and he used to tell us so much about Asiwaju. And then I think he was not titled Asiwaju, but Comrade Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So they would take us around Lagos, we would go and do protests, police would tear gas us, arrest us, So that was when I began to know about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu then. And we know comrades share relationship, special relationship with comrades, junior or senior. And so I also knew Lagos even at that time. That was around from 1991, 92 up to 2001. So you could see the number of times that I've been to Lagos. So now Asiwaju won in 1999 and became the governor of Lagos. So I used to remember that around that 1985, I was going to Surulere. So I went to Ojeleba, entered a taxi, and I was robbed of my wallet and my money. And that was what that time happens around that axis when you are going from Tejo Show Market, Yaba, Tejo Show Market, or Jeleba. You either go to Idiaraba or you go to Surulere. So you could imagine how it was dangerous under the bridge. The same thing in many places. Oshodi was just a mess. And I knew area boys, and I know that it was difficult to contain them. So in 1999, he became the governor, and after 8 years, somebody who I thought that there was no way you can rehabilitate area boys. It never occurred to me that a governor will come that can do anything meaningful with area boys because they are lost kids. That was my own assumption as a young person. But I read and I knew that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu then, as a governor, rehabilitated all area boys, found them worthy of being human beings. And I learned that he created LASMA and gave them, pardon?
So many agencies.
So many agencies, and gave them job. So instead of them sitting from morning till night, and then night till morning, drinking illicit substances and causing mayhem, they have now found purpose and meaning to life. So they look forward to morning because they will go to work, controlling Okada riders, bus drivers, Kia, I know Kia, I know Danfo, I know Molue, because we used to run and enter. And Molue, and then when you want to drop, nobody waits for you. You just drop and they will tell you, Alek Pelu change, because when you get to that place, the conductor will not give you change if the bus gets to your bus stop. So he was able to rehabilitate those people and give them purpose. So that was something that I really value in his, one of the things that I value. Secondly, he thought that I thought that all those rickety buses and railways that were known in Lagos, nobody can do anything about it. But he brought a program that replaced all those old traditional Lagos Volkswagen buses to something new. And the BRT buses were created, a lane was created for them. I thought with the busy street of Lagos, it would be impossible to have a BRT lane, but I think they were able to sanitize the roads. And
That's why he did a continuity in Lagos
for the governors. Yeah. So which other subsequent governors, they were his ideas, and then they brought them to fruition. So that was beautiful. And I remember that they had a running battle with President Olusegun Obasanjo at that time because of the LCDs that were created, local council development, local area development councils, and the president refused allocation for Lagos State for 2 years. If somebody is not ingenious, it will be practically impossible to run a government when your federal allocation does not come. Because I know governments, state governors who have full allocation and still were battling to pay ordinary salaries, chocolates of development. And I also read he was able to move a budget that he found, an internal generated revenue of 6 billion to over 60 billion within 8 years. Who does that? How was he able to see opportunities? And the people of Lagos saw development. So whatever is coming in as IGR, they could see the result of and the impact of their own resources that the state was collecting. And so Lagos became sanitized. Oshodi now is a place that you can go and sleep at night. And Ojuelegua now is beautiful. I've been there recently, and all other places. So I think, just to tell you the trajectory, my knowledge of Lagos, his leadership of Nadeko and the return of democracy, and the sacrifices he has to make for the country, because it's not for himself. He never knew he'd be a governor when he was doing it. And then the changes that he has brought to Lagos. It has given Nigerians an opportunity to see that we can have homegrown solutions coming from people who are Nigerians and leaders of Nigeria. So that was the trajectory. That was my idea, my perception of Asiwaju.
Okay, fine, sir. Actually, what even motivates you to be part of the group of Asiwaju?
Okay, so initially, I was in another party, the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, with Konkoso. When he was a governor, I was a personal physician. And then towards the 2023 general election, Asiwaju visited my dad in Abuja, in a house in Life Camp. Went there and told my dad that he has interest in contesting for the presidency of this country. And I remember during that visit, my dad asked him if he has informed any other person. He said no, he was the first person to visit. And then if he had informed President President Muhammadu Buhari of blessed memory, he said no. So after they had a conversation, my dad advised him to go straight and meet President Muhammadu Buhari then, to start with him, break the news to him and seek for his blessing before he goes anywhere. So after he left, we usually have political conversation with my father. My father is also an activist, is a comrade. So he allows us to express ourselves politically. You don't necessarily have to belong to the same political party with my father. We have that liberty. If he says we must belong to a particular party as loyal children, we will. But he allowed us to choose based on our own intellect, our own maturity and analysis. So we used to have a conversation. And my dad used to speak, in high regard for Asiwaju. He used to tell us he knew Lagos. He has been going to Lagos since before the independence of Nigeria. So he knew what Lagos was. He knew what Lagos was when he was there as special assistant to the president, and up to 1999. So this kind of conversation that I told you, my own realization, my father also, we used to have that conversation, and he felt that Asiwaju will be the right president for this country. Because you need somebody who found a problem and then found a solution to the problem within a span of 8 years, despite federal government lack of support. So my dad felt that President Asiwaju is to become the president of Nigeria. He will use the same, mental capacity, his experience in life, and political dexterity to address Nigeria's challenges and problems. And so my dad had total support for Asiwaju. And so because of this conversation, I realized that after all the people have emerged, I realized that, one, it is important for every right-thinking Nigerian to support the return of democracy to South, which was after 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari. It is the right thing to do. As an activist, I believe in Nigeria, and I believe in fairness and equity, and I believe in equal opportunities for all. So now that my father is already supporting President Bola as Asiwaju, and we have this conversation, and I also share, that same sentiment that presidency should go back to the South. It was easy for me to support somebody who has a capacity to win, capacity to bring development, to change the narrative in Nigeria. And it cannot be from northern Nigeria. So naturally, I felt that I cannot do that outside the party. And so I moved to APC and I joined APC. And I joined my father, I joined other well-meaning Nigerians, I joined other party faithfuls in working for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's success in the 2023 general election. I created a group, grassroots mobilization for Asiwaju and Shetima, GMAT. And
Are you still with the group?
It's a group that brought me here now.
Okay.
And I still my friend, comrade Ayo Dele, is my deputy. And together with our experiences and our network around the country in NANS and National Association of Nigerian Students and the National Youth Council of Nigeria that I was a secretary general for 8 years or 10 years, we had vast network. So we had structures, easily across that side of the country in all the local government, and then we campaigned. So I think, as God will have it, it is the work that we did under that. It was what exactly brought me close to Honorable James Abiodun Faleki, because he was one coordinating support groups. then, and then also the Presidential Campaign Council Secretary. So we used to go brief him of our activities, of our successes, of our plans, and I believe when he saw the successes that we recorded, it was easy for him to upgrade me from the leader of my own support group to that of the entire umbrella body that coordinates all support group in Nigeria, which is the Tinubu support group. And I looked through the archives, and before 2023, they have registered over 5,000 support groups across the country. And you can imagine when you multiply that by the number of people or members of that support group, how many supporters they were able to manage, which I have inherited now. And since I've come into office, I think we've already registered almost 500 additional new support groups moving forward, even before the start of political activities. So that was my interaction with Asiwaju. That was my basis for supporting him, because I believe in rotation of presidency to South, one, and then looking for the right candidate to support. And between the two that emerged from southern Nigeria, Asiwaju is second to none, nolly secondus, as A.B. Zaria would say.
Yes, sir, thank you very much. Yeah, Asiwaju was sworn in 2023. The so far so good the achievement. How will you rate the achievement of Asiwaju up to this present? Because of what is going around about the country, what will you say to it? And firstly, sir, can you just brief me about the subsidy? Is it okay by you when Asiwaju said the subsidy is gone?
Yeah, so I told you, as an activist, we have ability to read, understand, analyze issues objectively and come to a realistic conclusion. And so, to answer the first question, going back to the second question, Asiwaju has succeeded tremendously since he emerged as the president between 2023 till date. And I have reasons to back up my position. But before doing that, the first thing he announced was removal of subsidy. And what's my position on the removal of subsidy? I support the removal of subsidy 100%. I support it because I knew how subsidy started. It started as a genuine subsidy for Nigerians, for the entire Nigerians. But over time, a cartel was created, a syndicate was formed that siphoned over 90% of the subsidy that should have gone to every Nigerian, while only 10% gets to Nigerians. So when you get to a point where subsidy was inflated, running into trillions, and the country cannot be borrowing from its future to finance its current state, knowing fully well that it's as if you are digging into a well and going deeper and deeper and deeper. That's what subsidy represents. There was a time in this country, just before Asiwaju became the president, that we borrow money to subsidize petrol. That was subsidy. And it was not even a realistic subsidy, because we knew, somehow NNPC knew and Nigerians knew, the gap between what is real in terms of liters consumed by Nigerians and what is fabricated. And so we heard that we were on paper importing millions of liters of petrol on paper. You go to the Central Bank of Nigeria, get foreign currency with the intention of importing large amount of PMS. You divert 90% of it, retire it on paper, and only import maybe 10%. So you borrow for a few, not for Nigerians. And so it was not sustainable. And it was not easy for anybody, because it has become a syndicate. It will be difficult for any president to be able to unravel it and ensure it. So that's my position on subsidy, and that's why I support President Bola Ahmed. If we had continued, the question is, if we had continued on that line, where would Nigeria be today? If you live on the street and there are shops and you borrow from shop A and you get to a point where you're a bad debtor and you get to shop B, shop A is still waiting for you to pay the debt. So by the time you get to the last shop on that street, everybody knew you are a person who is a bad credit, you are not credit worthy. And by the time the entire community knew, you will not be able to get any credit. Nigeria was moving to a situation whereby everybody knew that we are borrowing, but we are siphoning the money. And we are losing our credit rating globally. And it got to a point where we're not only borrowing to subsidize subsidy, we're also borrowing to subsidize dollars. You go and get billions of dollars, borrow it, put it in CVN, only for you to sell it to your friends. Instead of those who are in the manufacturing sectors or development sector, that they will ensure Nigeria becomes an exporter rather than an importer. So people will go to CBN, get a note, get these dollars that should have gone for manufacturing and making Nigeria an exporter rather than an importer nation. Go to Zone 4, change the money. After a week, they will wait for the next batch. So that was what was happening in subsidy of dollars. And legitimate people who go to the bank, they won't get it. You only have to go to a black market to get it. So whose interest was this serving? Generality of Nigerians or a few people, just like I've told you, the same cartel that were operating in the subsidy scam, they were also operating in the forex exchange setting. So these two things consume majority of the money that we are borrowing to subsidize fuel and then to subsidize dollars. So Nigerians do not benefit. And Nigerians were indebted to foreign financial institutions, and the benefit does not go to them. It only goes to few. So these two policies were not justifiable. Not only that, at that point in time, we are not only borrowing, but we have reached a point that you borrow to subsidize fuel and then currency and not have money left to pay even Nigerian salaries. And Nigeria resorted, in addition to borrowing, printing, indiscriminate printing of Naira notes at the minting and printing. And any currency, any government that prints Naira notes or its own currency in its own local printing and minting press, that is an automatic devaluation of your currency because it's not backed by anything. And so Nigeria's currency was going down, almost becoming a paper, but these other things, you look at the people that benefit, so they are not realistic. And so therefore, when the president came, even before the president was sworn in, the late President Muhammadu Buhari, in his 2023 budget that will end in May 29, had no provision for subsidy. Zero. He provided subsidy up to the day he left office and left the decision to continue with subsidy on the next incoming president. And luckily enough, it happened to you, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu knowing what really, because there was a transition, and therefore the predecessor government must write a handover note to the successor government. Asiwaju knew everything. Even as somebody who is a Nigerian, a leader, knows what is happening in the country. So when he went to Eagle Square, he said it, that in his speech, there was nothing like subsidy is gone. But he was moved by the realization that the only opportunity he has to make a bold decision, take a stand and save the country from economic collapse was to pronounce that subsidy is gone so that he will commit his administration to not go back to subsidy provision. And it was the greatest thing that has happened to Nigeria because it saved the government from going bankrupt if he had returned subsidy in the next 1 or 2. Today, I can assure you, salaries would not have been paid. Federal state government will not be able to pay salaries, will not be able to meet their financial obligations, and they would have continued borrowing.
Even if you look at what you said, I didn't think that university students now, they are okay. Because before, you will say strike, but I think that one is no more again. Is it true, Bola?
Yeah, so because he took that decision, save the country, save states and local government, he now has to redirect the autonomy. He now has to ensure that there is a plan to address the backlog of that decision he has taken. Because naturally, when you pronounce that kind of policies, it will naturally have an effect on the economic sector of the country, economic indices, because the system was built on false premises. And though if you remove those false foundation, it will shake. It is now the responsibility of the president to begin to build a solid foundation that this country and the economy of this country will now stand moving forward. And what did he do? The first thing he did is to say, okay, money needs to go to the states so that governors will be able to use it instantly to absorb the shock of this economic reform that he was employing. And he gave 5 billion naira to each of the state government to be able to cushion the effect of the removal of this subsidy in palliatives. So that was the first breather. The second one, he said the Minister of Agri at that time, when they were sworn in, they should open the silos of this country and empty it so that grains will go right to nooks and crannies of this country so that people will find succor. So the grains were there, the cash backing was there for the initial shock that the policy he has pronounced will result in. And those were measures to cushion the effect. So the governor were stable because now they have 5 billion and they have grains of rice before other policies that were in the intermediate, medium and long term will begin to take effect. After that, what did he do? He said there must be, he knew that many parents would not be able to afford, school fees for their children, tertiary education. He created NEL fund. And many students, all you need to do is get an admission, university, college of education or polytechnic, or even monotechnics. Apply through the portal, you don't need to know anybody. And the system, that NEL fund, will pay 100% of your tuition fee, give you some small amount of money for your upkeep. How many parents give the amount of money that NEL fund gives for students' upkeep now in tertiary education? And so that was also stabilize and ensure that many of our youth remain in school so that the effect will not force them to abandon school. That was a serious shock absorber. And not only that, he said, okay, so what do we do? If we are relying on petrol to fuel our vehicles, transport goods and services, then the prices of goods and commodities will naturally rise. The easiest thing to do is to convert to gas-powered vehicles. And so he introduced the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas. But because of the population of Nigeria, it's a policy that need to have maturity time, a gestational period to reach its maximum potentials. And so, in some states in Nigeria, there are centers for free conversion for anybody who is doing commercial vehicle. And if for those who want to do it on their cars, those kits were somehow subsidized. And then people were given licenses to begin to open conversion centers and open stations where you can fill in your gas. But because of the decades of neglect and lack of consistent development, how much amount of money do you need to put in a sector that will be able to address the issues and challenges of that sector within 2 years, while other sectors are also waiting? So whatever, as somebody who is rational and an accountant, he knows how to ensure that all sectors feel the impact of the government and get funding. And so you cannot take all the most resources and put in CNG because you want everybody to have available CNG converted vehicles and then access to CNG gas. Because education is there, security is there, health is there, agriculture is there, all the other sectors are there. So, and if you remember, before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came, just to travel from Abuja, Zuba to Kaduna, the number of kidnappings that were taking place there, the insecurities that were there. Even in Kaduna, during the campaign, it was difficult to go to Bundangwari. You need significant armory to go to Bundangwari and come back. So that's how it was in quite a number of locations. The president quickly ensured that the Nigerian security architecture had all the necessary support for them to succeed. And I can assure you, from the NSA's report that he has been given, the National Security Advisor, thousands of cells and bandits and Boko Haram cells have been disseminated. So there was a significant improvement in security when President Bola Ahmed. It is because of the resources available that has been removed from the removal of subsidy that he was able to plow that into security provision. Though recently, I believe it's politics. You see some resurgence of insecurity here, there, kidnappings happen within the span of 2 weeks. That is not in the characteristics of the behaviors of these bandits. So, whatever is happening now, I do believe is because the president has achieved tremendous success. Nigerians are becoming quite comfortable and believing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the right person to lead this country even into the second term, that they are generating these things, is politically to undermine, to distract, undermine, and then politically affect his government. But the beauty of it is that the president refused to travel to South Africa and Angola, provided leadership, saved the lives of those who had been abducted, rescued them, and gave leadership to the security agencies in this country. And you could see the successes that have been recorded. So that's in terms of the security success and the challenges that we're having right now. Look at the agricultural sector. I was with the Minister of Agri, and he told me in the entire history of this country, no administration has given fertilizers, 2 million bags of fertilizers free to Nigerian farmers. Farm implements, seedlings, all the things that are needed for farmers to go back to farm. Now, that shows good intention, that shows good policies. But like I told you, because of the population of Nigeria, because of the number of the vast land in Nigeria, whatever you put into the system, it will look as if it's insignificant, as if it's small. But in terms of comparatively previous administrations and President Asiwaju's 2 years in office, agriculture has received tremendous support. And today, I can assure you that the prices of commodities has gone up. These prices have crashed. In fact, many of Nigerians who are peasants, who are civil servants, now go to market, whatever the amount of money they used to have that they can afford. Now they can afford much more when they go to the market. Now the people that are complaining now are the farmers, because they said they bought fertilizers at very expensive, and now that the prices of goods have crashed, they are not making returns on their investment. And I believe Asiwaju, the president, is a listening person, and he will find time to sit with their leadership and find how he can support them. So I'm trying to give you instances of successes recorded since the removal of subsidy. And people have asked, okay, when you remove subsidy and you no longer, where has the money gone? But because some Nigerians do not read, do not listen to government, do not listen to news, probably do not know that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has invested wisely those savings. Let me give an example, a quick example. One, when he came, the foreign reserve of this country was low. Very, very low. Today, the foreign reserve of Nigeria is over $40 billion. And the significance of a foreign reserve, it tells foreigners who want, when you call somebody to come and invest in Nigeria, they want to find out how much money do you have stored outside your own country. In case anything happens, I'll be able to fall back to that their foreign reserve. So it determines your credit rating globally. And so when the president built that foreign reserve to over 40 billion, it puts Nigeria on a solid rating and gives confidence to investors globally that you can do business in Nigeria because Nigeria has a significant savings outside the country in foreign currency. He found debt that was owed of $7 billion, which he has even made Emirates and some other airlines to refuse to fly into the country because their commitment, they were not settled because dollars were being stolen or siphoned through subsidy and then black market on the foreign exchange. He cleared that $7 billion today and went and sent the Minister of Aviation and what have you to United Arab Emirates. Today, the Emirates airline is back and other airlines are back.
So
IMF,
most of this investment will still be back to Nigeria?
Absolutely. That's what I say. When you borrow on your street, the first, second, and third shop, and everybody who has the shops next knew your story, they will not be able to give you even Maggie on credit because they know that you are owed and you have not paid. So when you clear debt, foreign debt, 7 billion, you have a foreign reserve of over 40 billion, you have cleared IMF COVID loan of $3.5 billion, your debt servicing in your budget, which used to be 97% of our budget goes to debt servicing. You only have 3% for development. Now, Asiwaju has brought it almost to 50%. So he has freed almost 47% plus the 3%, for development in Nigeria. So people now know that Nigeria is good for business because if you are not in debt, you will not be able to spend 97% of your money to service debt. If it's below 50%, it means you have money, liquidity to invest locally. It means you are doing well. State governments, have their state allocations triple, if not quadruple. It means it's not only in the center that you have economic stability and affluence. You have economic stability and affluence across the 36 states. Because governors have no problem paying salaries. All governors now pay salaries by 25th of every month, except if they have a local challenge. Governors I have listened on the news, are no longer having problem servicing their debt. Some of them, if you put the entire governors who have cleared almost 200 billion collectively of the debt that they are owing, and they are still, if you don't have excess liquidity, you will not be able to solve your obligations and pay debt. And so the global community is looking that, okay, the Nigerian system is stable, the economy is stable, states are stable, no conflict, no crisis, and not only that, they are even paying their debt. It's a positive signal. And the president has traveled around the country, around the world, using these indices to boost the confidence of investors. And I have heard that several investors are coming with their billions of dollars to invest in this country, which will strengthen our economy and ensure that those are just few sectors.
That is Mr. President for you.
As Mr. President for you. Look at the health sector. In the health sector, I am a doctor, I'm a medical doctor, I'm a public health physician, a consultant for that matter. I know the amount of money the president has pushed into private health care. There is a fund that was established through an act of parliament. They call it Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. Initially, the amount of money that was earmarked for spending across the primary healthcare settings, the president, when he came on board in the first and second year of his budget, has increased the amount of money that goes to that Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. And so, a lot of resources now go directly from the federal government to the primary healthcare settings. Those primary healthcare settings already, each ward, and there are over 8,000 wards in this country, have their primary care PHC centers renovated to become functional primary care centers. Functionality in terms of infrastructure, in terms of service provision, in terms of quality of care, in terms of accessibility of essential drugs, in terms of recruitment of staff at that lower cadre that will provide the services, and accessibility to care. Now I can assure you that this money goes straight to the primary care settings for all this and directly. Not only that, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, through the Federal Ministry of Health, has declared that every pregnant woman that goes to hospital for delivery and need a cesarean section will be free. And many of them have started benefiting, irrespective of whether it's primary, secondary, or tertiary level. Once you get there, those funds are there for every pregnant woman. Not only that, people who have kidney problems and they require dialysis to cleanse their blood of waste.
It's free.
Pardon?
Is it free too?
It's subsidized, so they only need to pay 12,000 naira now per session instead of almost 100 or something per session. That is a significant subsidy and palliative given to those people who do that. All the cancer centers, there are 6 of them in the region, 1 per zone, have received significant attention from the Federal Ministry of Health. And there are centers in this country that provide free cancer care treatment once you are referred to those centers. Not only that, with the removal of subsidy and floating of the currency, some pharmaceutical companies were almost leaving Nigeria. The president has said any pharmaceutical company that wants to set up or is already in existence in Nigeria, whatever you are importing, that's an ingredient for pharmaceutical production, zero taxation, so that you will have indigenous pharmaceutical companies producing locally and giving incentive to others who are outside the country to return or come afresh and establish it. Anybody who wants to establish any biomedical equipment production company in Nigeria, as far as the president is concerned, zero tax. So there are a lot of tax waivers that has been granted in the medical arena where people who want to do business and begin local production will be able to come and enjoy the enabling environment for their businesses to succeed, to prosper. And at this point, there is a moratorium, no tax will be collected from them. So, as you said, how many times have ASU gone on strike compared to previous regimes? And sometimes some of the strike is not because the president has not done well for the education sector. No, it's because they have written agreements with previous administration for over 12 years. And those agreements were not fulfilled by the president of that administration that signed those agreements. And over the time, those budgets have become so inflated that with the current reality of Nigeria, it will be practically impossible for the president to remove resources from all these sectors just to settle some of the demands that the academic staff union of universities are making. In the health sector also, just to reinforce, there are a number of things that Nigerian Medical Association have asked and other healthcare associations that have asked. The president has graciously granted many of those requests. Arrears have been paid. People are now receiving arrears that they were owed, by the previous administration. doctors and healthcare workers have complained that because of the shortage of manpower.
I think they were on strike before.
Yeah, so that's how I'm telling you. If you look at the number of strike, consistency has reduced. And the doctors and other healthcare associations have succeeded in getting Mr. President to approve an increment in their retirement age. It was one of their demands. They have asked that for decades from previous administration. Only President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved that, and I think by this month that we are in, the head of service will have a meeting and approve that. So if you are in service and you are a consultant, your retirement age will no longer be 60 years, it will be 70 years, so that you will stay and provide services. If you are not a consultant and some other health professional will be in service for up to 65 years, to address the issue of many of our healthcare personnel that have japa, as they used to call it, left the country for greener pastures, to be able to accommodate more people. So I think, in fact, these are just sectoral. But I can tell you that there are some innovations that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has brought into being that are futuristically for the good of this country. Local government autonomy, we all know that many presidents were not able to grant local government autonomy, and local government funds meant for the development of local government have been taken and utilized by state governors to develop cities, and local governments are left without any development. To whatever extent that policy has been implemented, the fact that it has been approved, it has been resolved finally by the Supreme Court, ensures that the president has courage and is bold. Regional development commissions, before you only have two. You have the Niger Delta Development Commission, and then due to insurgency in Northeast, there was the Northeast Development Commission. These were the two. But since Asiwaju came into office, all regions now have development commissions. And if you look at the importance of these regional development commissions, if people are to understand the intention of the president for granting this, is to bring development closer to the people. When you have budgets that are made from Federal Ministry of Education, Federal Ministry of Health, what the Federal Ministry does is to do a generic policies and programs that ensure that there is sometimes not even equitable, but equality in the deployment of resources. Kano does not have significant problem in education. Now, other places don't have any need for resources in education, but you give Kano the same amount, you give another state the same amount. And resources should be deployed based on the need of that people. But in a federal setting, where you have federal ministries, no federal ministry will be seen to be biased, tilting resources to a state where it needed the most at the expense of other states, because that argument cannot hold water for the people of the other states who have little. If you give one state 10 billion, because you feel that the health problem and challenges are bigger, and give another state 1 billion, because you felt that the health challenges are smaller compared to that state, nobody will accept that. The only solution is for regional government. The regional government now will have resources, address issues that are peculiar to their region, and any other region will not complain that the Southeast Development Commission is spending resources in gully erosion. If you don't have a gully erosion in Northwest, use the resources available for you to address health and education. So I'm saying that the vision behind this Regional Development Commission, if they are to be utilized properly, I think Asiwaju has done well for this country.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Umar Tanko. The last one is that I just want you to tell me, the youth of Nigeria, they still believe Asiwaju is not doing anything. Can you now address the youth now, since this Asiwaju is coming back for 2027? What will you say to the youth of Nigeria?
So I want to say to the youth of Nigeria that they should shine their eyes, as we used to say, to open their eyes previous administration have run policies of government that takes from the future to fund the present. And the youths are what you used to say, the future leaders of tomorrow. Now, if we are taking from our future and investing in now, what will be there? What will be left when they grow and they are the one that will inherit the future? So what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing is to hit a reset button that guarantees the safety of the future of all Nigerians, generations yet unborn, to ensure stability, to ensure that the right decisions are taken now, the pains are borne by generations that are right now living for the betterment of the future generations. People who build nations and people who were living at a time when leaders were building nations all have to make sacrifice for the country to be better. You do not expect a future generation to be the ones that will come and make the sacrifice. No, you have to make the. And all that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing is try to consolidate Nigeria, strengthen its foundation through these hard reforms, so that in future we will not have to be contending with these same issues that we are contending with now. And at the time that we will be forced to address it, we will not even have the resources, we will not have the people, we will not have the sanity, we will also not have the peace to be able to address it. And so I am calling on Nigerian youth to read, to listen, to understand the vision, key into the vision, and then also support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's second term, so that he will be able to consolidate on these policies that are meant for generations yet unborn. All of us will be better off, all of us will be beneficiaries. And also to say that I believe by the time Asiwaju finishes his 8-year term in office, he will ensure that leadership is handed over to the young generation to continue from there. That is my take.
Thank you very much, Dr. Umar Tanko. That's the DGTSG, or that's Tinubu Support Group
Yes.
in Abuja here. Thank you very much, sir. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you too.
Thank you, sir.
It's my pleasure.